So I recently picked up a set of the 4 Simera-C lenses from Thypoch, the 28, 35, 50, and 75. I sold off a lot of my other mismatched lenses from different manufacturers in order to make this switch. In this video, I really want to discuss and dive into my process and why I chose these lenses over other options. This video is not to say go and buy these lenses, they're the end-all be-all, they're the best thing out there, but hopefully this video will help you to think more critically about picking up gear so that you're spending less money and not getting sucked into the type of hype train that all different marketing is trying to do these days. I did purchase these lenses myself with my own money. I have no relationship with Thypoch or DZO, and no one is sponsoring this video at all. So all my thoughts are completely my own with the hope that they'll benefit you. So first off, why was I even thinking about switching lenses in the first place? My biggest reason was that I wanted to consolidate my gear and move towards smaller and lighter setups. A lot of lenses I had were Sigma Art lenses and Sony lenses, which are beautiful, but they're large and they're heavy. And back in 2022 and 2023, I really damaged this wrist, and I didn't treat it till I literally could barely hold my camera or edit anymore. So it's not been a quick healing process. Fast forward to now, and it's infinitely better, but still not fully healed or back to being really, really strong the way that it used to be. So carrying around a camera that's really front heavy with a big lens is a little bit of a challenge, so it was time for a change. So I've got my Tamron set of zoom autofocus lenses, which I love. I recently made a video talking about the 28-75 and why it's my most used lens, but I've also been getting a lot more into manual focus for personal, commercial, and even wedding work, and I wanted a dedicated set of small, light manual focus lenses for this purpose. Now, I had a few criteria when picking up these lenses. Of course, compact, lightweight, along with being fully manual were my biggest criteria, but I also wanted lenses that had a fast aperture, at least t1.8, but all the better if it could be t1.5 or faster. For that little bit of extra juice, I wanted lenses that were full frame coverage so I could use them on my FX3 as well as my Super 35, FX30, and FS5 cameras. I wanted lenses that had a very pleasing look that wasn't either overly stylized or overly sharp, punchy, and contrasty. I wanted lenses that would all match aesthetically as well, so I wasn't running into issues of footage between lenses looking wildly different and not cutting together especially well. And frankly, I needed lenses that were less than $1,000 a piece because that's just the budget that I was working with. So, I wasn't even looking at things like the Cooke SP3 lenses that are really, really cool, really beautiful, but $4,500 a lens. And finally, I needed lenses that I could genuinely feel happy with for the next 5 or 10 years, no matter what new lenses might hit the market. I don't want to be buying more gear, new gear for the next few years. I want to have the gear that I have and focus on creating. Obviously, this is a very specific criteria to me and my specific needs, but the next time you're looking at buying new lenses or see something new and really cool getting hyped up, go ahead and take time, make a list of what's actually important to you in a lens and compare any lens set that you're looking at against it. Separate yourself from the marketing hype and think about what features you actually value. Maybe for you, having a bigger, heavier, more optically perfect lens fits your style of shooting. Maybe you never open up wider than t2.8, so a faster lens doesn't actually matter to you. Maybe you just love weirder lenses with a lot of character like the Helios 44-2 or Blazar Remus anamorphic lenses, and that's what's important to you. Or maybe you have a completely different set of criteria that I haven't even thought of. Make that criteria set and then compare any lenses you're considering buying against it. I didn't just see the Simera-C marketing and think, those are the lenses that I'm going to pick up. I went through a long process of considering what my goals were, what was important to me in a lens set, And then I saw what was on the market that could meet that, if anything. I considered lenses like the Rokinon Cine DS line, but they were much larger and less pleasing of an image overall, in my opinion, even though they're far less expensive. I've owned various sets of Rokinon lenses over the years from Micro Four Thirds and Sony, and I just never have felt fully happy with them. So I didn't want to compromise in this case. I knew that I could save a big chunk of cash right now, but at the cost of probably selling them in 6 months or a year to pick up something that I actually wanted and served me a lot better in the long term. So those were out. I also, staying with Rokinon, looked at the Cine autofocus lineup because they were interesting, they were different, they were kind of unique. They're really, really small, they're really compact, they have both a manual and autofocus options, but they came with a lot of compromises. They're T1.9, which is pretty close to what I was looking for, but a little on the slower side. They weren't true manual focus without a really clunky adapter on it. And the image, while being nicer than the other Rokinon lenses, just didn't really overly speak to me personally. There was also the risk of spending a couple $1,000 on these lenses only to find myself frustrated by the limitations and misalignment of my need versus what these lenses actually are made for and offered. And then I'd be in the same situation where I'd want to sell them at a loss to buy something else. So I also ended up deciding these were not the lenses for me. Now, my last option that I seriously considered was picking up a whole line of Canon FD lenses from the 24 to the 85mm. This would have been by far the least expensive option, and I nearly went this way. Unfortunately, these lenses posed a lot of problems and issues in hitting my criteria. Some of the lenses are f1.4, but as you move into the wider focal lengths, you're getting f2 or f2.8 being the widest aperture. Being vintage lenses, also I found it much trickier than I thought to track down copies without dust, haze, or fungus on eBay. And there's always the risk of dishonest sellers or sellers who just don't really know what to look for in their lenses, and you might end up wasting your money getting a bad copy. These lenses, while true manual focus, often have extending barrels as you change the focus, messing with any follow focus gears that you might put on. And so ultimately, much as I really like the look and the feel of the Canon FDs, I opted against them. So this really only left the Simera-C set as an option that hit most of what I needed at the time that I was looking at lenses. While not quite as small or light as the Canon FD lenses or the Rokinon autofocus lenses, they're still insanely small and light, and much smaller and lighter than Sigma and Sony lenses, and smaller and lighter than the Rokinon Cine DS lenses. And these are true manual focus lenses. They're housed in really small Cine-style bodies with proper focus gears, and they are pretty optically consistent across the lens set. They are all T1.5, they cover full frame, and while more expensive than the competition I looked at, they still fell under $1,000 a lens and more like $800 a lens when buying them as a set. I really loved the image that I was seeing online from them, and I can confirm that I love the image that I'm getting out of them myself. Actually, I'm shooting on the 35 and the 28 right now. And so these seemed like the lenses that I could be pretty happy with optically for the next 5 or 10 years. And with the ability to resolve images up to 8K based on their own marketing, even if down the line I'm forced to jump to higher resolutions, they should still have me covered. That's not to say that they're perfect lenses by any means, and in next week's video I'm going to actually get into more of the specifics of their performance, their pitfalls, and if I have any regrets about going with this lens set. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video by saying that for me and my needs and my style of shooting, I feel very, very confident that I made the best long-term decision for myself that I could have. And for me, I don't think that there's really any compromises with these lenses that are going to make me feel like I can't create the art that I want to create with them over the next few years. In next week's video, I'm really going to get a lot more into my actual experience using these lenses, show off more footage, and really kind of go across a bunch of different scenarios for how I use these lenses and what works well with these lenses and what doesn't, so that you can maybe make a better decision if they're right for you, if they're a lens that you are looking at. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, and I will catch you in the next one.